Holy moly. Okay, this is one is gonna be pretty tough. He got a ridiculous Ukraine start. Luckily, only an average Westruster start. Went another 4 infantry, 2 tank by. So I think this is a strong player once again. Gonna have to go for some crazy stuff in the opening here, I think. Alright, this is the map after Germany won. So I decided to go a bit ham here, try to introduce variance after his strong opener. I went for the more risky 5-1 split, but unfortunately I did season 7 before season 10, so I couldn't, if I had and seen that I'd won, I'd taken the cruise strikes casualty instead of a submarine, so I would guaranteed have a submarine here next turn. And I also went for a full-on stacking of Ukraine, even though it's dead zoned, with a combined stacking of Belarus and Karelia as well. And the idea here is that I'm going to be giving him a big trade, which is good for allies, but he's not going to be able to attack all three, so I am going to get something back. And if the most obvious course of action here is to simply wipe Ukraine, then so I bought 2 tanks to try and stack it next turn, maybe with help from fighters from Japan, and then that might be able to help me set up some early pressure combined with an India push, since the fighters in Ukraine has range into India. But we'll see how that goes. I also tried to split off the battleship to also kill the destroyer, since usually if the destroyer also goes to support here in Ukraine, UK can kill the battleship only losing the destroyer, while if he kills it here, he's probably going to be losing something else like the bomber. I also just tried to stack Libya as normal, but I'm not sure if that will work. Sometimes in these positions UK can go for an early Libya attack, but in that case I think he'll have to skip the battleship, so I don't know if he's going to go for that. Yeah, and I went for a ground buy with 2 tanks, and I placed my fighters in northwestern Europe as normal. They have range to the 3 critical territories here, so we'll have to see what my opponent's response is going to be. Yeah, as you can see, the not doing these battles in the correct order had a pretty big impact. He was able to buy a UK-1 Navy here, while if I had done it in the other order, he wouldn't have been able to. He also didn't lose anything clearing season 17 here, which is unfortunate for me. He also was able to get Egypt stack on UK1, which is always pretty dangerous. He cleared the transport with a fighter and landed in Shizvan, so I'm probably going to be doing Pearl Harbor this game. And the rest is that I think that's all of note. Alright, so I decided to skip Pearl in favor of just trying to get as crushing odds as possible on these mainland battles. I managed to take Buryatia and Yunnan without taking any losses, which is very nice, but I did lose 2 infantry in Anhui, which obviously is not that good. I placed all my fighters in Guangdong, 3 transport, 3 infantry by as normal. Placed my bomber back in Japan, and I placed a fighter here in Libya to try and defend this next turn. This battle that he's setting up here is currently at 50% odds for him, 45% odds for me, which I think is good enough considering the game state. So we'll see if he's a risky one or not, if he goes for that. And I'm also kind of trying to tempt him to go kill Japan first here, so we'll see if he goes that by skipping Pearl and kind of leaving myself a bit open. And it's not the main meta strategy, but we'll see if he goes for it. My opponent did not kill the submarine, or more accurately, he did go for the submarine, but he only went with the bomber and the destroyer, and both missed, and my submarine hit the hero. Luckily for me, he didn't go with the fighters as well, or else this would be like incredibly unlikely. Other than that, he went for Ukraine and wiped it, but I think I'm going to be able to wipe it back here. I just hope that these ground units don't hit too much. And he also interestingly went for Anvai, so that's going to be really annoying. I'm going to have to land in all these provinces to avoid giving Russia a lot of value next turn. And it's also gonna be hard for me to hit up here because that's the downside of placing my fighters in Kwangtung. But we'll have to see exactly what we do. That's a big oof right there. His 6 ground units each hit my infantry, so I traded evenly, which is terrible considering my odds. So now he might be able to wipe it completely. But luckily I hit very well on the Season 7 trade. I only lost, I got a top 30% result on my attack roll, and he hit averagely, so I only lost 1 fighter. I managed to wipe his navy here, so I'm gonna be safe from pressure from the west for at least one entire round. But things are not going well over here. I'm not sure I'm even able to hold it. But at least I have Karelia, so it's something, right? Yikes. Looks like he went for the coin flip in Libya and won it, but he didn't sacrifice the fighter, so he didn't capture it. So at least I'll be able to keep getting income from here. And more importantly, I think he did not strafe Ukraine, so I can now safely stack that with my Japanese fighters. And because of this annoying infantry here, I'm not going to be going for any India timing or anything. I'm just gonna do some solid pressure on the Soviets. Alright, so I landed in these 3 provinces here. The Yakut battle ended in a tie, but my bomber did survive, luckily. I bought my industrial complex and placed it in Manchuria. Getting that up and running early is important, since the 8 production slots in Japan is not enough in any long-term game. And put my planes in Ukraine. That should be safe now until next turn. And I also made sure to protect my sea zones because of the bomber in India. And now we'll see what he has planned for me with the US. He managed to take back West Russia, but he only has 1 ground unit remaining there, so I may be able to stack that. He did not go for Ukraine, which is nice. And he sent all his troops here, and he has 4 transports up here in Season 10. I'm suspecting they're going to either try and land in France or in Finland. The way the UK Navy is positioning here, I think France is the main target this first round. I'm not sure if I'm going to try to wipe this or not. It will stop the landing, but at the same time it's pretty likely that I'll lose fighters, which are very valuable to Germany. Yeah, I'm going for a full ground buy as always, and I think this game is going to be a bit of a grind. It looks like Japan is a bit behind on the attack here, and but so is the allies, luckily for me, in the west, and I'll get to keep the income here for another round. He had the option of landing in Morocco, but he opted not to for some reason, so I'll always take free income when it's offered. And yeah, this is the board after my turn. I managed to stack West Russia without any issues, and I forgot to mention he lost 1 of his fighters on the AA gun in West Russia. Really happy about that. I managed to kill the carrier and the fighter and got pretty lucky. He didn't hit anything back. Super good trade for me, obviously, getting a lot of value for free there. So I'm going to be delaying any UK invasion until round 5. No, round 4. Yeah, he's going to buy this turn and then land next turn, yeah. I stacked this enough. I have about 60 to 70% chance to hold it if he goes all in on it. Oh shoot! Yeah, I did not count. I did not count the bombards. Yeah, that might be bad. Yeah, it's gonna come down to the AA, I think. Okay, yeah, that may have been a pretty big mistake. But oh no, never mind. I have the Japanese fighters. Yeah, okay. No worry. No, the Japanese fighters are needed for. Okay, yeah, no. I need 4 Japanese fighters for West Russia. So I have 1 fighter to spare for France. Yeah, I think it'll work out. UK is really neutered, but the stack sizes for Germany is super low, considering the state of the game. The only hope here is that the UK is really slow, and the US is also pretty slow. At this point, if I was playing Allies, I'd usually have a US stack here, ready to hit Italy and Southern Europe this turn. If that was the case, I don't think this will be playable for Axis, but luckily his fleet is up here in Season 10 instead of down here in Season 13, so I may have a chance. This is definitely one of the more close placement games though. I'm feeling kind of nervous. My opponent rebuilt his UK Navy up here and landed in Morocco. Most interestingly, however, he put 8 infantry into Burma, which is a pretty big amount. I can kill that, I think, but it's a bit hard when all my fighters are here in Ukraine. It's a bit of a downside of shoving all your planes into one area. He did not go for what. Yeah, so now my question is if I need to put a fighter here in France or not, and how to proceed in this area. I might go for Yunnan stack or something like that. Usually I want to start to capture the free income here in the Pacific as soon as possible. But this might not be possible in this game because my early battles didn't go that well with him wiping Anwei on US 1 and Russia 2. You never want to see that. After checking the odds, this is actually 80% to hold, so I'm perfectly comfortable just leaving it as is, especially now that UK didn't like try any shenanigans and try and strafe off 1 unit or something to give the US odds. Here in West Russia, I decided to bomb the factory. I'm probably going to be doing that whenever I don't have anything to do with a Japanese bomber, because I don't really value it that much. It's not that useful for the defense of Germany, and Japan starts with a pretty big air fleet to begin with to trade. I don't think might as well use it like that. I'm thinking I got a full complement of ground, and I stacked Yunnan with which also has about 80% to hold. So he's probably going to be taking French Indochina next turn. And if it goes with all 8, I might just let him have it, at least for a round or 2, and then set up with my new transport and recapture it in 2 rounds. And then that transport will go on to capture Australia and New Zealand. Because early on, the flow of units into Russia can be quite critical. Well, once you have established like a solid baseline here, you can start to divert, because you need a lot of units to stack Kazakh, which is the end goal. So delaying your units a bit to get more income, to get a burst of unit later, it's more worth it than rushing a constant stream of units early on. Yeah, move everything west, and I think I'm going to be starting to collect a more solid income. The Africa situation is unfortunate, but that is life. Yeah, he's landing all his stuff in Finland, so it's going to be a Finland truck, kind of typical attack that is pretty brute force, but also pretty easy to perform. So I'm probably gonna have to set up a Corellia stack, maybe this turn or next turn, depending on what I choose to do. And he retreated from Caucasus into Russia as expected, and he's done something interesting here, was to just leave one infantry in every province. I don't know if this is good, but it certainly encourages more trading with Japan, so that's going to be happening on Japan's turn. Yeah, I decided to not stack Corellia for another round, so I'm going to be dead zoning it this round, and then I'm going to be stacking it next round, I think. And then I'm going to be stacking it with the Japanese planes as well. This will give me one more round to move stuff up from the Japanese side. I'm not actually concerned about getting odds on Moscow here, because he has a lot of fighters and stuff he can put there. So I'm just concerned about getting a Japanese stack to Cossack, or close to Cossack, and starting to trade these provinces with Japan. And that's a lot easier if this German stack is here, pinning the Moscow stack to Moscow. I also killed the cruiser here in season 13 with no losses, traded Northwestern Europe, and reinforced my French stack. Alright. They actually didn't even capture Thailand, which is kind of confusing. But he did capture Yunnan, which is very unfortunate, because he didn't have odds on that. And it's also always a bit unfortunate when your opponent kills something they don't have odds on, because it feels very wrong, you know. But anyway, he only got the tanks in India, and he didn't really get any. He got 2 transports here, so I'll say that the game remains pretty close. I'm gonna have to replace all my troops in Yunnan, of course. But next turn, okay, I'm not sure I'm able to do that actually. Yeah, we'll have to see what I do with that. I'm going to be pressuring these 3 provinces anyway, because that's part of the main Axis win condition in the kill Germany first game, which we are definitely in based on the US production here. So yeah, we'll have to see what I do with the UK front. Alright, so I decided to just go for a pretty simplistic plan here. I wiped his Yunnan stack, and I realized pretty quickly that I'm not going to be able to stack it, so I'm just going to dead zone it instead. So the fighters here, okay, the fighters don't reach, but the bomber here and the newly produced units here are able to dead zone the units in Yunnan together with the 4 newly landed units in Guangdong. So it's going to be able to continue to be annoying here, but that's really expected. But more importantly, I was able to trade all these provinces here, and I'm going to be able to retrade them next turn. And he's going to have to be a bit careful with how many units he sends to retrade them, because I have a stack here in West Russia pinning his stack here in Russia, so he can't send too many units, so he has limited freedom, which is giving me value in theory in limiting the amount of units he's able to trade here. So hopefully Maybe he's not able to trade Novosibirsk, and I'm just able to keep this for free, or something like that is the hope anyways. I didn't really calculate this turn too well, so it's a decent chance I made some mistakes somewhere here, but I'm just doing a push with Japan, and I'm thinking that even if some precision has been lost, the main idea will still stay true. What is that I spy with my little eye? It looks like our allied player forgot to move the ground units, so now he's lost an entire round of of transporting to Finland. That always sucks when that happens. Yeah, and he opted to just not retake any of the provinces, which I think is a mistake, because you get so much income from Caucasus, Kazakh, and Vologda that you kind of need to contest them, I think. I also put a stack in Karelia, which is a dead zoned province. So I'm going to be able to retake and stack that at a pretty big profit this round. So I'm not quite sure about that decision, because that, especially combined with the lack of incoming troops, is probably going to be delaying his attack quite a bit. I decided to go and wipe his Karelia stack. The battle actually went pretty poorly. He killed 5 infantry for the 4 or 5 units he had there. So that trade was super good for him, considering the odds. And I also went for a Kazakh stack with some of my tanks and German infantry. The hardest part about pushing Russia with Japan is getting this stack set up. So I think if I just use the German troops to kind of kickstart that stack, I can get an IC here and start to get production really close to the Russian capital and really speed up my push. For the rest, I was able to send an entire round of production eastward, which is always a very good sign in kill Germany first when you're able to do that. And I'm just chose to maintain my friend stack this round, because I think that I could have sent them into Germany, but they would likely have to go back in next round anyway. A consequence of this misstep that they made is that the transports are going to be very concentrated. So next round is going to have like 11 transports concentrated in this sea zone. At that point, I don't know if maintaining the France stack is worth it. So, but that's a worry for my next Germany round. The situation here in Burma is also very unclear at the moment. I'm kind of curious what he's going to do. Yeah, so we just ended up trading Thailand and Yunnan. So I'm going to be taking Thailand back and Yunnan, and I'm going to complete my stack of Kazakh by getting an IC there. Not much happened in Europe. He just landed in northwestern Europe, got an additional transport and bought 8 infantry, I believe. Yeah, still being annoying with the subs in the Pacific. Tanks stayed put, interestingly. I thought it would retake Caucasus or something, but they're just chilling there. And now I'm going to try and retrade everything. And here it is, after I've traded back. I got an industrial complex in Kazakh, and that's now properly stacked, and I got more troops coming in next round, so I think I can start to pull out the German units after a while. But that did mean I had to cut some ground production, so I only got 6 ground units in Japan proper this round. So I'm going to try and be a bit creative with my transport pathing and try and contest some more income here in Africa, and start to grab the income here in the Pacific Islands, because getting started on that round 5 is really a bit late. I should ideally be doing this like round 3 or something, so I'm already losing out on a ton of income there. That is indeed a big stack of infantry, and it's gonna be a quadrupling or fifth-tupling, I think, of the number of troops in Finland at the end of this round, which is gonna be a bit terrifying. He also traded back Caucasus, which I think is a good move, and that's leaving me with a bit of a logistical challenge here. I want to get the German tanks back so they can stack and help defend Karelia next round, and I also need to respect the potential for him to just land everything in France and try to go for a Normandy-style attack on Germany proper. Okay, so this is what I ended up going for. I ended up putting a big stack in France, and the main reason for that is that I noticed that it didn't buy any replacement infantry, so it's gonna have this one big wave of units, and then there's gonna be nothing for a while. So I think his plan here is to just do a burst. So he's gonna, I think his plan was to land everything in France and try and build up a big stack there, and then just kill Berlin with these troops and the air reinforcements from mainland US, together with units from Norway that would be able to be lifted by the same transports that landed here. So obviously you can't land in France if you have France stacked, and with this setup I think Northwestern Europe is also dead zoned, even with four American fighters, but I haven't actually done the odds on that, so I'm not quite sure, so don't quote me on that. If it's not dead zoned, I'm going to be pulling my France stack into Germany and pull these tanks into Germany, and together with a full round of production, I think I'm going to be able to dead zone all of these provinces neighboring Germany, which will force him to either accept a super bad battle or leave and lose additional transport efficiency long term. So I think this is a pretty robust setup. Yeah, some of these battles are like not like if it's super he has okay odds. The odds aren't are better than I'm comfortable with on Berlin and the Baltic states here, but yeah, we'll see if he goes for that. It would be a ballsy play on his part, at least, to go for it. Yeah, it looks like he is going for the stack Northwestern Europe, and then just barge down the front door approach that I mentioned on my Germany turn. He also capped the Caucasus with the UK using the tanks, so a bit of efficient trading there. So now I'm going to, but he left these areas kind of empty, so now I'm going to be able to resecure this area. I may have odds on India as well, but I don't think I'll be going for that, or because it might mess up my logistics, but I'll have to think a bit more about that one. I ended up not going for India. The odds were about 85% in my favor, but I would have probably had to sacrifice a lot of planes. Oh, he's taking his turn immediately. That's nice. The two infantry here in Egypt were also a bit too tempting a target. Unfortunately, they did both hit, so I had to sacrifice a fighter to capture the province. He has a 1 in 3 of. He has 30% odds on Kazakh here or something like that, but I think that's going to be safe. And I now have a solid supply chain setup. I also went for Western Australia down here, and I kind of forgot about me only having 3 transports here, so I just got a full infantry buy. But I'm gonna have to. Oh, looks like he's not stacking Northwestern Europe. All right. And he did get a complement of ground this turn, so maybe he's changed his strategy or something. But that does mean that next turn is not going to be transferring anything over, and the turn after that is only going to be transferring at half capacity. So he's going to lose some efficiency by him buying those fighters. And it seems like I also accidentally placed my submarine inside his strike range, which was kind of a silly thing of me to do, but he did not take advantage of it. Really rushing through his turn here. Wow, alright. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna start the next segment when he's finished his turn. Yeah, so this is how it looks when he finally finished his Russia turn. He ended up spending a long time thinking here, but he did just trade West Russia, and blitz through Novosibirsk. And now I'm gonna have to figure out how to deal with this pretty big Finland stack and this dead zone, the UK stack. My trades went pretty awesome this turn. I had 0 losses against him in Northwestern Europe, so I decided to just put an AA gun there as well, because now it will be pretty awkward for UK to trade it. And if US trades it, that means that transports move double, which is usually a bad thing. This case might be a bit special though, because of the awkward logistics. I also took back Caucasus and West Russia, and I'm no longer need to have any German units in Ukraine, because the nicely placed Japanese stack can take back Caucasus, and if I'm offered the option, I will also stack it with Japan and start producing here from this 4-cost territory in addition to this 2-cost territory. And now the game is at a point where it's a race. He has to make some progress against Germany before this Japanese stack grows too big for Russia to handle. And I'm curious if it's gonna wipe this fleet or not. He actually captured Baltic states here instead of attempting with Northwestern Europe and France, which is surprising. And he did kill off my troops here, but I hit back and killed the bomber, so at least he didn't get that for free. And also these 2 troops are now already on the continent and are going to be capturing income for me. And here I'm building up the stack in Kazakh. Now that there's not so much disruptions down the supply chain, I'm going to get a really big round of reinforcements next turn, and I might be able to get odds on Moscow and force him to reinforce with fighters within the next 1 or 2 rounds. Things now seem pretty rosy here. He didn't kill my stack here, so I got a lot of free value out of killing the UK stack there last round, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get a lot of value out of killing his stack here this round. He has only 12 income with Russia, and Japan is looking pretty strong. And I managed to kill the 4 troops there while only losing 1 infantry. So the last 2 rounds I've killed 10 UK ground units and only lost 1 ground unit of my own. So that's the kind of efficiency you can get sometimes if you manage to attack small stacks with big stacks and wipe them out in like 1 or 2 rounds. Then they only have 1 in 3 of hitting back, and so you get on average 3-for-1 trades. In this case I've gotten even better trades, obviously, because I got a bit lucky. And I'm sending at least 14 units up here into Karelia. Next round I'm just gonna try and match, because he has 12 US ground units coming in, to keep Karelia clogged up so that he can't use these units for anything productive. Looks like he just plopped everything into Finland and didn't really do anything else, so that's super nice. I'm just gonna keep building my Kazakh stack. I don't think I have odds yet, no, but it should be pretty close. And this is the end of my turn. Just doing my turns pretty quick and dirty at this point, since yeah, it's down to the grind. It's a battle of stacks. The Finland stack versus the Kazakh stack. Yeah, he just moved this stack and traded a province. Gonna get a max by 14 units once again, and try to make sure that Karelia doesn't fall. And this is the situation at the end of the turn. Just building my stacks. Yeah, he's put all his fighters in Moscow, but that's fine. I can just delay Moscow by a turn. when I'm in this position, I shouldn't need to risk anything, so I'm not going to. And that's Japan 9 done. Built a stack, and he abandoned India. It would be a VC victory, but of course he can just capture France pretty easily, so no bueno. And this is the end of the game. He threw in the towel. I did not. I would have had very good odds on Moscow, and he really was not making any progress. I maybe would have done a desperation attack or something before giving up, but oh wait, oh he missed that. He didn't land in. Okay, that's pretty funny. He needed to land an infantry in France to stop the VC victory, and he just missed it. Mobilized troops, hit and turn, and then suddenly discovered that he'd lost. Oh, that's gotta feel bad for my opponent. Yeah. Okay, well, GG.